Hello, my dear children. Myself Sujata. Hope you have revised the previous chapter. Today we will learn a new chapter, The Hack Driver by Sinclair Lewis. Before getting into the chapter, let us know about the author, Harry Sinclair Lewis. Harry Sinclair Lewis was born on February 7, 1885 in USA. He was an American novelist, short story writer, and a playwright. In 1930, he became the first writer from the United States to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature. He was awarded Nobel Prize for his vigorous and graphic art of description. He created his characters with wit and humor. He died on January 10, 1951. In this lesson, a young lawyer is made to serve summons instead of practicing law. He hates his job as sometimes he is beaten up while serving summons in the shadowy corners of the city. Once, he is directed by the law firm to serve summons on a man called Bill. Bill, the hack driver, drives him in his horse carriage around the village. He takes him to the people who know Lutkins, one by one, in a quest of finding him, but no results to avail. He returns empty-handed to the city. There, he is reprimanded by the chief of his firm and is sent back to New Million along with a person who has worked with Lutkins. After reaching at the New Million station, the lawyer came to know that the person who drove him along the village himself was the Lutkins. The young lawyer becomes the laughing stock of all. Okay, let us read the chapter together. After graduating with honors, I became a junior assistant clerk in a magnificent law firm. I was sent not to prepare legal briefs, but to serve summons, like a cheap private detective. I had to go to dirty and shadowy corners of the city to seek out my victims. Some of the larger and more self-confident ones even beat me up. I hated this unpleasant work and the side of city life it revealed to me. I even considered fleeing to my hometown where I could have been a real lawyer right away without going through this unpleasant training period. So I rejoiced one day when they sent me out 40 miles in the country to a town called New Million to serve summons on a man called Oliver Lutkins. We needed this man as a witness in a law case, and he had ignored all our letters. When I got to New Million, my eager expectations of a sweet and simple country village were severely disappointed. Its streets were rivers of mud with rows of wooden shops, either painted a soap brown or bare of any paint at all. The only agreeable sight about the place was the delivery man at the station. He was about 40, red-faced, cheerful, and thick about the middle. His working clothes were dirty and well-worn, and he had a friendly manner. You felt at once that he liked people. I told him, to find a man named Oliver Lutkins. Lutkins? I saw him around here about an hour ago. Hard fellow to catch though, always up to something or other. He is probably trying to start up a poker game in the back of Fritz's shop. I will tell you, boy, is there any hurry about locating Lutkins? Yes, I want to catch the afternoon train back to the city. I was very important and secret about it. I will tell you what, I have got a hack. I will get it out and we can drive around together and find Lutkins. I know most of the places he hangs out. Okay, let us continue reading. He was so open and friendly that I glowed with the warmth of his affection. I knew, of course, that he wanted the business, but his kindness was real. I was glad the fair money would go to this good fellow. I managed to bargain down to $2 an hour, and then he brought from his house nearby a sort of large black box on wheels. He remarked, "Well, young man, here is the carriage," and his wide smile made me into an old friend. These villagers are so ready to help a stranger. He had already made it his own task to find Oliver Lutkins for me. He said, "I don't want to interfere, young fellow, but my guess is that you want to collect some money from Lutkins. He never pays anybody a cent. He still owes me 50 cents on a poker game. I was fool enough to play with him. He's not really bad, but it is hard to make him part with his money. If you try to collect from him in those fancy clothes, he will be suspicious and get away from you. If you want, I will go into Fritz's and ask for him, and you can keep out of sight behind me." I loved him for this. By myself, I might never have found Lutkins. With the hack driver's knowing help, I was sure of getting my man. I took him into my confidence and told him that I wanted to serve the summons on Lutkins, that the man had refused to be a witness, when his information would have quickly settled our case. The driver listened earnestly. At the end, he hit me on the shoulder and laughed. "Well, we'll give Brother Lutkins a little surprise. Let us start, driver. Most folks around here call me Bill or Magnuson. My business is called William Magnuson Fancy Carting and Hacking." "All right, Bill, shall we proceed to Fritz's?" "Yes, Lutkins is just as likely to be there as anywhere. Plays a lot of poker. He is good at deceiving people." Bill seemed to admire Lutkins' talent for dishonesty. I felt that if he had been a policeman, he would have caught Lutkins respectfully and jailed him with regret. Bill led me into Fritz's. "Have you seen Oliver Lutkins around today?" "Friend of his looking for him," said Bill cheerily. Fritz looked at me, hiding behind Bill. He hesitated and then admitted, "Yes, he was in here a little while ago. Guess he has gone over to Gustav's to get a shave." "Well, if he comes in, tell him I am looking for him." We drove to Gustav's barber shop. Again Bill went in first, and I lingered at the door. He asked not only the Swede but two customers if they had seen Lutkins. The Swede had not. He said angrily, "I haven't seen him and don't care to. But if you find him, you can just collect that $35 he owes me." One of the customers thought he had seen Lutkins walking down Main Street, this side of the hotel. As we climbed back into the hack, Bill concluded that since Lutkins had exhausted his credit at Gustav's, he had probably gone to Gray's for a shave. At Gray's barber shop, we missed Lutkins by only 5 minutes. He had just left, probably for the pool room. At the pool room, it appeared that he had just bought a packet of cigarettes and gone out. So we pursued him, just behind him but never catching him, for an hour till it was past 1 o'clock. I was hungry, but I had so enjoyed Bill's rough country opinions about his neighbors that I scarcely cared whether I found Lutkins or not. "How about something to eat?" I suggested. "Let us go to a restaurant and I will buy you lunch." "Well, I ought to go home to the wife. I don't care much for these restaurants. Only 4 of them and they are all bad. Tell you what we will do. We'll get the wife to pack up a lunch for us. She won't charge you more than $50, and it would cost you more for a greasy meal in a restaurant, and we'll go up to Wade's Hill and enjoy the view while we eat." Okay, from the story up to what we have read, we can understand that the writer was a law graduate. He joined as a clerk in a big law firm. He was given the job of serving summons on witnesses. Once he was sent to New Million, a small town that was 40 miles away. He was to serve summons on a man called Oliver Lutkins. There he met a hack driver at the station. That man looked very friendly. He offered to help the writer to look for Oliver Lutkins. The driver takes him to all the places where Lutkins could be found but fails to locate him. He shows him the village and describes the country life. They do not find Lutkins, but the lawyer is very happy to find such a friendly and helpful man. Okay, now try to answer these questions. Why is the lawyer sent to New Million? What does he first think about the place? Who befriends him? Where does he take him? What does he say about Lutkins? Okay, meet you in the next session with the next part of the chapter. Thank you.